Hi, it's Simone. I'm filming an experimental video. I was greatly inspired after watching Tom's response to the 8 pen questions to take another look at my own fountain pen collection. Let's just summarize quickly what was so fascinating. Tom has a 10 favorite pen collection plus a cup of everyday utilitarian pens that he uses for experimentation and some other things. And among his 10 pen case, top 10 pens, he goes by the rule of 1 in, 1 out. Now, I am not going to attempt to do the same, but I found the categorizing the pens into these are my experimentation pens, this is what I use these pens for, these are my awesome top 10 pens, very interesting. And I don't have a super extensive fountain pen collection myself, but I've been wondering if I could even maybe pare it down a little bit more. Now, I recognize also that Tom has been in the fountain pen industry working for Goldspot for 15 years now. This is about the same time when he got into the hobby of collecting fountain pens and using them. And so I'm not at 15 years at all. I started using them when I was in elementary school, but this round of, oh, there are so many different pens out there, this round of fountain pen collecting started at around summer of 2020. So he's been collecting into this hobby for 15 years, and I am in this hobby, let's say, if it started in 2020, summer of 2020, for 4 years now. So there is a huge difference in time spent in this hobby. And also he is working for a pen retailer. So maybe he definitely has a different exposure to pens than I have. And I do want to take that into consideration. But I thought the exercise of going through my pens, looking at them, and, thinking about what do I use this pen for? Is it more of this is a favorite pen, top 10 maybe? Maybe I can attempt a top 10 or a top 20 list and organize them by those categories. I think I do have 3, possibly. Will give me some insight into where this is going. And I also feel like, because when I thought about, oh my gosh, top 10 pens, I didn't think I would be able to do that. I haven't done it yet, so we don't know if maybe I could already pare my pens down to top 10. I probably can. I do have a top 10, but what do I do with pen 11 to XYZ, I'm not ready to let them go. And so I'm just wondering and want to see where this exercise leads me. I don't have a specific end goal in mind, but I thought I would take you along so you can see my thought process and see how I categorize my pens. I have 2 pen cases right here. Both are 20 pen cases. And I think what I'm going to do is use this neater pen case for an attempted top 10 over here, and then more pens, more of the top in this side, and then utilitarian pens over on this side. And then we'll see what happens. So I have a lot of stuff right here. I have some pens out on my pen tray that is overflowing. But I don't know how this is going to go. Yeah, I feel very over. So I'm going to start by on this side. I think This is a TWSBI Eco. It's the only TWSBI Eco I have left, with a 1.1 stub nib. And this I definitely keep only for the 1.1 stub nib. So I would call this a fun pen that I use with inks that I'm not so sure about, and to achieve that 1.1 stub nib. This is a TWSBI AL Mini in grape, and I have not been drawn to this pen for a longer period of time. So what I'm going to do with those pens that I haven't been drawn to, I will set them aside over here. Can you even see those? Yeah-ish. This was a gift from my friend Nikki. It is a Pelikan Twist. I have to admit, I don't know if I even used it once. I think I did, but I don't know if I logged it. When I go through my logbook, it's not there. I swapped out the nib. She gifted it to me with a fine nib on it. I swapped it out and put the A nib, which is a beginner nib from Pelikan, which is the nib that was on my son's very first fountain pen when he started writing with fountain pens in school. This is the only way that I can use this nib, but I'm not really drawn to this pen. So this is also one of those, what would I do with something like that? I'm not really drawn to using this pen, but it's the only way I could use this nib. So then this is my Sailor Pro Gear Too Hot Habanero. I just recently got this in the beginning of the year. I bought it used and I really like it. I wouldn't put it in my top 10 favorites, but I would definitely put it in my top pens. I'm just gonna leave it right here. And then I have the Sailor King of Pen in just regular black with a broad nib. And I'm going to go through my attempted top 10 soon, so I'm just going to put it right here. What else? Here is my collection of Lamy Safari type pens. Let's put it that way. I have one more. This is the Violet Blackberry. Man, this is so hard to say. And there's 4 of them here. So if I were to attempt to reduce my collection even more, I would probably reduce the amount of pens that are the same I would own. And so this would be an opportunity to reduce these pens. I'm not willing to do that at the moment. I really like each and every single one of them. I am also planning on adding 1 or 2 gold nibs to these pens, because I'm first of all, I'm very curious to see how it will change the writing experience from a steel nib to a gold nib on a Lamy Safari type pen. And because I love my Lamy 2000 so much. But that is a piston filler pen, and I want to see how those nibs compare. So I'm not going to get rid of those. These are definitely also play pens for me at the moment. I have a broad nib, I have a 1.5 stub nib. So yes, this is definitely one of those pens that you could only own one of, and then a whole slew of different nib sizes. But as I said, I'm not ready to let any one of them go. If I was, I would probably get rid of the bronze, but I actually really like how it just I feel like it completes this awesome jewel toned set of pens. Doesn't really make sense. But if I were to have to say, if somebody told me you need to get rid of all of those, then these would be on the chopping block. This is so cool, though. And I'm totally not opposed to putting a gold nib on a pen that is only, how much was this? $30-ish? I think I could pare it down to these two. I'm not planning on letting those go, but I'm just going to want to play with this. Then the Benus. So here we are. This one I mainly own because of the beautiful design and because of its odd shape. I currently don't think I would let go of this. I don't know if it's a top 10 pen yet. I love that it is so tiny and looks so unusable, but it's actually a pretty comfortable pen and it totally posts. And then it becomes quite a good full-size fountain pen. I use this pen not far down at the nib. I usually hold my pens further back so that there's about this much space between my fingertips and the end of the section. And the grip here and the threads and the step up to get to the big body is not even one bit uncomfortable. So I don't think I would let it go. This I would probably put onto my top pens. And then again, I have a whole slew of, actually 3. I reduced it already by 1. My Benu Euphorias. I have a fine, a medium, and a broad nib for those. Of course, again, these nibs are interchangeable, and I consider those play pens not because of their looks, but more because they're super wet writers. The nibs are smooth. I can easily put some troubled inks in here. It also is an amazing base pen to just screw in the section of a parallel nib. And so again, I'm currently not seeing myself getting rid of any of those. And I'm really torn. This was my very first Benu. Look at how this is reflecting here. But it's still one of my favorites because of the depth here of the material. It just looks so good. These are all lovely, but I think it would be, and look at how these specs, the blue flecks look. Yeah, I don't really think I can decide right now, but I'm partial to this one. This was one that was purchased with one of the first affiliate purchases from Atlas Stationers, and that's their Gold Coast exclusive. So maybe this would stay. If I were to pare it down. Okay, wow. So this is where we are at right now with these pens. Is there any other pen? Yeah, let's continue on with my other pen case. So on this side we have, and is there any of those pens out here right now? Yes, this one. This is not my pen. All of those here are nibs, pens that use the same nibs and threads. So I can interchange all of those nibs with each other. that means that I could totally, if I chose to do so, keep only one of those and use all of the nibs that I have on them. But of course, I don't really want to do that. I love the Esterbrook Estes for their size. I do have 2 left. I originally had a collection of 4, but I decided to sell the other 2. So now I only have 2. What I like about those is the inner capping mechanism in here, where I can, I feel, especially here in the summer when it's hot and dry, that those last longer than others in this collection. And so I've only lived here for almost a year now. And so this will be my second summer going in. And I really think I want to experiment a little bit more with that experience to make more informed decisions. For instance, this Monte Grappa Elmo does not have an inner cap. It actually feels a tiny bit better in my hand than the Esterbrook Estes. But every time I use it, I notice I have a noticeable difference between how the ink looks when I first start writing with it. It's really dark and saturated, and then towards the middle of the page, you can actually see the actual color of the ink. So that's something that I want to keep in mind when and if I am paring down my pens, because yes, it is a little bit more comfortable than the Esterbrook Estes. Yes, it's pretty, but what if during the summertime when it's so hot and dry, this is not working well for me? Not as well as these. I don't know. I will find out. But then I have one maker pen. This is just so sparkly and lovely. Then I have the Ultim from Schoen Design with the monarch nib. I've been asked on a video, what is even the point of this nib? And I don't really know how to answer this. For me, maybe there isn't a point besides the fact that I was able to support a maker who is extremely enthusiastic about innovation, about trying out new things, who is extremely passionate. And maybe sometimes that is reason enough to keep a pen and nib that doesn't have a point in a collection. So this is an Opus 88, and what I also like about this one is that I can, again, put one of the Pilot parallel nib units in here. It's a little different than the Benu Euphoria. Here you unscrew the whole section of the, with this one you just swap the sections of the pens. With this one, with the Opus 88, you pull this part out and friction fit it in here where the Opus 88 unit sits. You unscrew this and then just put it in here. So this option would be one that I would keep. I would consider this also a play pen, actually. And of course, with Jowo nib holders, let's call them that, you have the option of using so many different nibs on them. And again, so, oops. Yes, I could technically just keep one of all of those to hold all of the various Jowo number 6 nibs. But do I want to do that? Let's just play. Let's just do that. So I'm just, wow, this is taking a turn that I didn't expect. This one is also a very fun material. It's a Gravitas pen. This is in a similar vein as this one. I feel this, for me, has a Kaweco sport character or place. This holds a Jowo number 6 nib, but it has a similar pocket size as the Kaweco Sport, but it has a wider grip section and holds the number 6 nibs instead of the number 5 or even 4. I don't really know what they use. And so I love having this in my collection as well. It's basically my Kaweco, the better Kaweco Sport dupe. But if I were to have to choose from all of those, I would probably keep the Esterbrook ST in honeycomb. And then keep all of the nibs. Wow, this is it's an interesting exercise for sure. Now, I'm going to put this pen aside because I'm going to talk about this later. This is definitely a play pen. This is a Kakuno from Pilot with a medium nib. I have had gold shimmer inks in here and it works really well. So I would put this right here. And I have more. Where are they? This is another Kakuno. I purchased this one. I haven't rinsed it well. This has currently a fine nib on it, but I purchased this actually with an extra fine nib, and this is a utilitarian pen right now. But so let's say that this is the utilitarian Kakuno, and then again, so here's the thing: you're not able to purchase the spare nibs for the Pilotkakuno other than purchasing a whole pen. So if I do have another nib that fits these bodies, which is a CM nib, which I think stands for cursive medium, maybe. I don't remember. It's a tiny stub nib. You can only get those nibs with a pen. And so what this would mean if I said, oh, I can just keep one Kakuno and harvest all of the others, then I would technically throw away a pen body and just keep the nib and feed. So that is something that needs to be considered, because what's the point? There's no use for this body when the nib is gone and put in a drawer for, harvested nibs. So I could just argue that then what is the point? I can also keep the pen because it doesn't serve any more purpose than it already does. I can't pass this pen along to somebody else because I don't have a nib and feed left if I take this out to interchange on this body. But let's play with this and see where it's going. So we'll just do that. This is my Pilot Custom 823, and this I would definitely put in the top 10 category. So there's the first one. I also think I do have some pens that I recently purchased and haven't had in my collection for a long time. And that's also one of the things that I think is very important to keep in mind when you're seeing somebody else's collection, seeing somebody else where they are, is to consider with Tom, for instance. He has had 15 years of fountain pen collecting behind. So he might have had a Pelikan M800 in his collection for years before making the decision that this is one of his top pens. I don't have that background yet, so I just recently got this pen Christmas time of 2023. So it's now May of 2024, and of course that's not a lot of experience to have with this pen to say, yes, this is in my top 10. I have had this since this Pilot Custom 823 since March of 2023. So of course, my experience with this is much bigger than this one. And so I can say with more confidence that this is one of my top 10 pens. So with my experience right now, I would put this into this category as well. So this is empty. Let's grab all of the pens that are on the side right here. These are all of the golden nibbed pens, I guess. Yes, Lamy 2000 would definitely go into my top 10. I think also, let's go with what is definitely in there. I think also this Nagasawa Gearski, which is a Sailor Pro Gear, just rebranded, would be in that top 10. It has a broad nib. That broad nib is super wet, super smooth, and especially the design of this pen pushes this into the top 10 category. Even if I said, oh well, I don't enjoy that broad nib as much, I have no plans. But I think because this is such a beautiful pen and means so much to me, even though it's been in my collection for a super short amount of time, I would just replace it with a different nib. I would purchase the same pen again with a different nib and let this one go if the nib was an issue, but it's not. So now I have left the Pilot Vanishing Point, the Custom 74, the Scribo Feel. With this one, I think I mentioned this in my Currently Inked in April. I do have problems with the section getting inky, and I need to investigate this a little bit more. I love how it writes. I love how it feels. Again, I got this in January of 2024, so I have had inked this twice so far. So this doesn't give me any long-term, evaluation of how do I feel about this in a year? How do I feel about this in 2 years? Will this be still something that I gravitate towards or not? I don't know. So I would put this right here. The Custom 74 I haven't used in a while. And the reason is because I'm still working on my pens, well, trying to work on my pens in my pens from my pen case series, which still hasn't come to any fruition. I've had inked this since January. It's still writing well. This was my very first actual gold nib pen. This, I thought it was a gold nib. It wasn't. So this was my true first gold nib pen, and any ink I throw in this pen, I know it performs well. I have never had any issues. And so I think because it's such a trusty pen, I would also put this right here. Now, this is where it gets hard. I don't think I consider any of those pens top 10 just yet. So these are troublemaker pens-ish. I don't know if I still don't know for 100% sure if I actually really like the Pilot Vanishing Point. I've had this since October of 2021, I believe. And then I purchased a gold nib in summer of 2022. And I'm not sure. I keep using this and being on the fence. Same with the Platinum 3776 Century in medium. I love how this looks. I often love how it writes when I pick the right ink, but when I don't pick the right ink, it is a very miserable experience. And so I'm not sure I would put this in my top 10. This I would consider a fun pen because of the music nib. I have to write really large to use this as an everyday writer, and that's one of those things that make me hesitant to put it in a top 10. This is hard because the question is, if this is not in my top 10, why do I even own it, right? This is a King of Pen with a broad nib. Again, I haven't used or inked this with lots and lots of inks yet. I've had this since August of 2023. I've just recently actually acquired it. I had it on loan. I know that I really like it every time I use it, but do I love it? Is it something to die for? I don't know. And then this one is also another Sailor with a medium nib. I currently have an ink in there that comes out really light, which I'm not sure I enjoy. So I'm not sure if it's the ink or the nib, but if I compare these two right now, the broad and the medium nib, then I would always gravitate towards the broad nib. So, wow, that's interesting here. Okay, now let's talk about my utilitarian pens. Which are these? This one hasn't been made to be the utilitarian pen. I'm waiting for the San Francisco Pen Show 2024 to get this ground to the same nib as this one, possibly, maybe. I'm going to figure out if this is a reverse architect nib with a very fine writing side on here, fine tip on here, and an architect nib on here. I'm currently debating if I would like this to be maybe a spear point. I think Kirk Spear's spear point is an ultra extra fine on this side. I don't need it to be ultra extra fine, maybe more on the extra fine side, and then broad on this side. Maybe he can make this into a, something like a smooth architect. I'm currently experiencing quite of, not enjoyment because of the very scratchy is not the right word, very hard architect lines, and I wonder if it's possible to basically or crisp, that's the word that I'm looking for, crisp architect. If it's possible to get something like a cursive smooth italic in architect form, and that would be probably my ideal specialty pen. So this I use every week, every time I journal in my weekly creative journal. I have permanent ink in here, and I'm looking to replace this pen with this gold nibbed Platinum 3776. I imagine that I will enhance my writing experience. So my utilitarian pens I will put over here. These are pens that are dedicated for a specific purpose and that I won't probably use in a different setting. So I don't think that I want to unink this and fill this with magenta and then use it in my letter writing. This same thing, it's utilitarian. This has an extra fine nib. You can see there is platinum carbon black in here. I'm not sure I don't know why I feel like I should replace this at some point when my planning with a fountain pen is working out, replace this with a gold nib, but I'm very drawn to doing so. So I might replace this with a another Platinum 3776 in extra fine. Wow. Okay. So let's count. Then if I were to actually say, okay, I want to minimize all of this, then I would probably also let this one go, because if this is ground to a similar nib as this one, then that's that. Okay, I'm curious to see where we're at. I'm not getting rid of any of these pens that I put to the side right now. I would totally keep the nibs that I have for all of my specialty Jowo nibs for sure. If I were to reduce this to a minimum amount of pens, then I would keep all the specialty nibs, all the standard nibs that I have, and just sell, you know, the bodies of the pens. I also have various amounts of TWSBI mini nibs in my collection as well. So here is my nib collection. So I have a TWSBI mini in fine. I have a TWSBI mini, I think this is the extra fine. No, this is actually a broad. I have a medium. This one also looks like a B. What is this? Extra fine. See, I said it. This one is a broad. This one is a extra fine. I said it. This one is a fine. Then this is a medium. So I have all of those nibs. I would only need, if I wanted to keep the TWSBI mini, I would only need to keep one of these bodies and pens. And I would have a huge collection of nibs. I did this on purpose, but what I'm noticing is that I'm not really drawn to filling this pen, which is really weird because I was very much in love with this pen, and that's why I got this amazing special edition, but I haven't used it in a very long time. So let me count where I'm at right now, because that is so fascinating. So I could probably condense, I don't know, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. What is this fuckery? That is interesting. I need to write this down somewhere. So wow, I'm really, I did not expect this to happen. So you can see I have 20 pens in my cases right now, and then I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So that's 30, 34, 34 pens in total. That's all I have at the moment. So I did not expect that this to happen. I didn't know where this video was going. I don't have any intention of reducing my pen collection this far at this point in time, but I'm surprised. I'm really surprised at how easily it was to put all of these pens over on this side. If I were to add more and maybe say, okay, well, this, let's say, okay, I'm not done yet. So let's say, okay, 20 is a pen amount that I can do. How do I want to get rid of all of those? In theory, which pens would I let go of the ones that are in here to push some of these back inside? So this one looks really interesting to me. I think I would keep this one. And I possibly would also keep this one. That's interesting. I'm just like, I'm following my and then I would probably get rid of this. I would get rid of this. And I would reduce one more of those. This is hard. Maybe I would even let this one go. So I know that there's lots of YouTubers out there who keep pens in their collection for comparison reasons. And I know that I will not, even if I was going to say this is not going to be in my collection anymore, I would not let this pen go, because I really like sharing those visuals. I, for instance, don't have a Kaweco Sport anymore, but I think it's really good to use pens as reference. And I know that so many people have experience with either a TWSBI Eco or a Lamy Safari style pen, that I would always keep these two, or either any iteration of those, in my collection to be able to showcase other pens and do size comparisons. But at my current feelings, this is one of the newer pens that I have in my collection, and I really just like the color and the contrast and the fact that it's two colored. So I would have a hard time to removing this. So I would be able to, if I take this one out and say this is not part of my collection anymore, I would be able to add those three, remove three, add three, and keep those in my collection. Wow. So I think I'm going to write this down as a just exercise, you know, way to use my fountain pens. Yeah, I'm speechless actually right now. I think I'm going to condense those to make a picture for social media. But yeah, what an interesting exercise to do. Now, tell me, have you done something like this? Have you played around with the hypothetical reduction of your collection? What are the results? I feel I need to finish out this video properly. So I am very glad that this was just a hypothetical thing, because I need to make clear to you all that letting go of all of these pens would be heartbreaking to me right now, and I'm very glad that I don't have to do this. And I just wanted to mention it here. I am not going to follow through with this exercise. This was just I just wanted to see what would happen, and that's the reason why I was able to take out so many pens and say, well, if I were to, I would get rid of those. But I am glad that I don't have to do this at this point in time. Maybe several years down the line, I will do this. Maybe not. Maybe it's going to happen sooner rather than later, or never. I don't know. And I'm glad that I don't have to make any of those decisions at this point in time. I just wanted to make that extremely clear, that my liberal way of going through this was based on the fact that I don't have to sell and get rid of any of those pens. There's two things that I want to mention, I think. One is that, of course, because Tom, and I'm always referencing him, so I don't want to put him on the spot, but he triggered this whole video, is that, of course, because he works for a fountain pen retailer, it is much easier for him to try a pen that is new, look at it and examine it, and then decide, no, I'm not going to get it. If I want to do this, I need to go to a pen show, or I need to buy the pen in order to experience it, and then I can make a decision of whether it's a pen for me or not. And the other one is that, what was the other one? I don't remember now. Oh yeah, I just took a shower, so I had time to think. For instance, with this one, these two, I really love how this pen feels, but I think if I were to even go further down, I would merge these together and get rid of both and get a custom 743 because it combines the best of both of those pens. The fact that this is a vacuum filler makes it, for me, really hard to use it as much as this one, which is a cartridge converter filler. It's much easier to clean, it's much easier to fill, and so if I were to approach this from a let's reduce the amounts of pens I own, I would probably merge these two pens. I watched another video last night, which was from Cherise. It was her very first YouTube video, but she said something so profound that I want to actually quote her. She said about her collection and how she approaches it, "The time and story of this pen with me is over." And that was so eye-opening for me. A pen doesn't have to be in my collection forever for it to be an amazing pen for a certain amount of time. All right, I'm going to leave you with this and hope I helped you and inspired a thought process. Maybe you want to play this as well. If you do, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to see a video if you're a YouTuber, because I think it's super interesting to see other people's thought processes or hear about them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again soon. Bye.